Testing.
We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
Hey, I'm Danielle.
And it has been about a week. We've been going for about a week.
Yeah. Doing life. You know, celebrating. My whole family came up for the 4th of July, and it was incredible. It was actually, we hadn't been together since my mom's funeral, and I think that's about 5 years ago. We hadn't all been in the same room with all the nieces and the nephews and all of that, and so it was an incredible time, and it was much needed, just getting together with family. I know you all know, right? After quarantine and all of that, we're all just now having these family reunions, and so it's just an amazing thing to be able to do, and I know you get that. So we needed a little bit of time off.
Family
comes first.
Food.
You got that.
Fun. Great entertainment. How was
great
your 4th of July?
Mm-hmm.
Did you do a fireworks show? Did you eat like you are a fool?
Yeah.
You didn't have to repent the next day?
We did. We're still repenting. We are still repenting, y'all, from the damage that we did, but we ain't playing around. We're going to get right on back to the good food because it is a lifestyle, not a diet. It's a live it. It's a live it.
But we've been missing you guys, and we have a phenomenal series. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we're going to take our time with it and unpack it in a phenomenal way. But listen, before we get started, we want to make sure that you do what, Danielle?
We want you to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you do not miss an episode. Can you do that right now? Can we just take a moment? Let's woosah. Let's go sila. You know that means pause. And just do it now. Because you know what I find when I'm watching videos, I have all the intention in the world to go ahead, like, share, and subscribe. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. But because our mental pages turn so quickly, we never do it. And it's like, man, I meant to do it. Let's just take a moment. Go ahead and do it. If you haven't done it, hit the like. It takes 2 seconds. Hit the share. It takes 2 seconds. And hit the subscribe. And guess what? When you do that, we'll get notified and we know that you did it.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to dive right into today's topic. The question is, how to survive a D- marriage.
Ooh.
Like if you had to put a letter grade to your marriage, an A, B, C, D, or F, what letter grade would you give it? Be honest with yourself. Don't speak out loud, especially if your spouse is right next to you. But think. I want you to process. Sometimes
depends on what state you're in.
There is.
You know what I mean? Literally, what state and what state you're in also, because, you know, different grading systems and scales, right?
This is true.
A D plus and a D minus, that's passing.
Okay.
For some places, it's an F and it's failing. For others, it's you're passing.
So we're from Jersey, all right? We live in Georgia, but we're from Jersey. So if you have an A, you're doing pretty good. A B, okay, a A is excellent, right? A B is really good, depending upon what, you know, between 80 and 89. A C is satisfactory. A D?
And who wants to be satisfactory?
No, I don't
That's
want to be
already failing to me.
A D, no, you did not pass. You did not pass, but an F is a failure.
F is an epic failure.
It is.
But D is passing in the state.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
In Georgia? We should know this. We got 4
No,
kids.
I said Jersey.
Oh, Jersey. You don't pass with no D's.
I thought D was a pass.
No. If you get a bunch of you mean like pass to the next level?
You pass the course.
I would never know because
you
I
can
never
be a
got
straight
D's.
D student and pass.
Is that right?
Ask our producer student.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, you know, all right. Well.
Yes, you can speak.
I definitely got D's.
Never mind. We didn't want to tell that.
All right.
You know what? We didn't need to hear all that.
The point is, who wants a D? Who wants to just pass in life? Under the radar.
Nobody.
You know, and if you have a D- marriage,
right,
you're on the cusp of an F, which is a failure. Okay, so if we say an F is a failure, which means that a divorce is impending, inevitable, or you have divorce, a D- means that you're being held together by a string.
Yes, Kia, you're in Texas, but you didn't grow up there. But she says back in the day, D passed, and I know that's a fact that D did pass.
I'm sorry,
you.
folks.
But guess
I was
what?
a high achiever. I didn't have anything like D's. All I had was A's and B's.
Let me just say, okay, we all learn differently. We have some creatives out here, and D is a pass, and you was like, yes! I got a D. I passed.
That is a shame.
If y'all know, y'all know. Okay, the point is that do you want a D minus marriage? No, you want an A plus marriage is what you want.
JD says D's get degrees. All right.
Thank you, JD. Right, I'm sure there are many doctors out here right now that passed for the D.
Well, how many of
doing
you
surgeries?
That's scary. That's scary. Just because you graduated from university, that we don't know how you were as a student.
You passed.
God.
You passed.
Well, do you want a D minus marriage?
Congratulations.
That's the question. Do you want a D minus marriage, right? If you do not want a D minus marriage, we're going to talk to you about how to overcome it. Now, when we use the letter D, we're not just referring to a letter grade, but D represents destructive. Are you in an emotionally destructive marriage? Now, you may think that you're not. You may think that you are. But what we're going to do is talk about what that looks like, right? What that looks like, what to avoid, what to overcome. And so what we're going to do in this series, we're going to walk you through almost like a test that I want us all to take. So during this series, we want you to take out a pad and pen because we're going to ask you a series of questions. We're going to take the time to unpack it, but we want you to assess where you are to determine the level of health of your particular relationship. And that way you'll know what you need to do to go from a D to a C to a B to an A. Listen, I want a straight A marriage.
Straight up.
That's
Me
what
too.
I want. Okay. But before we get started, listen, I just have to give a shout out to Jeff and Maribel Witt, our ambassadors. They have been so altruistic in sharing Couples Academy with others that have helped to make an impact in other people's lives. So if you folks, if you know someone who is in need of help, take them to the website, have them call us, set up a discovery call so we can see how we can make an impact in their life and in their marriage. All right, how to not have a D minus marriage. All right, so let's talk about some signs. We're gonna go to number one. An emotionally destructive sign number one. My spouse calls me names such as stupid or worthless or uses sexually degrading terms. And so we want you to rate this. Is this often, sometimes, seldom, or never? Now listen, the whole name calling thing is a serious situation. So when we say something like stupid or worthless, understand this is G-rated on this show.
Right. I mean, you know what words
you know good and well.
You used, okay? Or they used, right? It gets all the way to XXX sometimes with the language that we're saying to each other. And I think a lot of times people become accustomed to it. It's normal because it's actually a part of their language as well, right? If you have a habit of cussing like a sailor just for no reason, you don't have to be mad. It's just part of your language. Then when somebody's calling you outside your name, that mess might seem normal. But that is a sign of a D minus marriage.
It really is. And as they say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never harm me is a lie from the pit of hell, because words can be more damaging than sticks and stones. Because if I hit you with a stick or throw a stone at you, it's going to cause a physical wound. And that physical wound could last a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, right? But if I throw words at you that are damaging, that doesn't just affect you physically, it gets internally your soul, your mind, your spirit, your heart. And those leave sometimes permanent wounds. Long term.
There are some of us out here who are still dealing with something that our mamas or our daddies or our auntie or somebody said years ago. They said it to us and it just went deep and we haven't been able to get it out ever since. Our words are powerful. The Bible tells us that our word is our bond. It is like a seed that goes out into the universe, into the atmosphere, into the system that God created for us, and it actually maturates and turns into something. Our words are seeds and we don't know what the response of our words are going to be. Just like, you know, if you have a handful of seeds and you don't know what the seeds produce and you just throw them in the ground, you don't know what they're going to produce, right? Some of us are dealing with guilt and shame and self-worth issues over something that somebody said and they didn't mean any harm, quote unquote, or they didn't mean it. So our words are powerful and we have to really be curators of our words and be careful how we speak to the people that we say we love.
That's so dumb. That's so I didn't call you dumb and stupid. I said what you were doing was dumb and stupid. But the person who received it identified their actions as a part of who they are. So even when you think, I'm not calling you out your name, I'm not being disparaging, I'm not criticizing you, just your actions, you still have to be careful how you package
Jacqueline.
things, because it can have a negative impact.
Yes.
And to that point, all the way from childhood,
Right.
Past relationships, the existing relationships, the words that we've accumulated. And what happens is, if these have been words that have been projected at us, we start having internal conversations with
shapes who
ourselves,
we are.
and we start talking about these words and reminding ourselves of all the negativity that we've heard, and it's become a part of our self-image, and then we show up in a particular way, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. So free yourself, folks, and stop projecting on other people what's going on in
and
you.
I want us to continue this part of the conversation when we come back after the break. I'm going to acknowledge a few of you, and then we're going to continue this conversation. So just drop some comments in there so I can reference them. See you on the other side.
Couples Academy is expanding its team to meet the growing demand of people in need of help around the world. So if you're a trained, licensed, or certified expert in marriage enrichment, infidelity recovery, sex therapy, life coaching, cognitive behavioral therapy, divorce mediation, financial coaching, or family therapy, contact us today.
Welcome back, everybody. You are watching the Couples Academy show, and we just want to let you know we appreciate you for rocking with us every day. And I want to just go to my faithful Kia B. Good morning to you, Torre Love, Toria Austin from Detroit, Thea Austin from, no, that's the wrong name, Takita, the names, Takita. Thea Stanley, good morning. Rick Benet, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Ken Thomas, good morning. Hey, Rochelle is in the building from St. Kitts. Chef Rochelle, she is the bomb. She's an amazing woman of God standing for godly marriages in Antigua. Good to see you on here. JD Pruitt, you know we love you, brother. And B. O'Neill, good morning. Gorgeous Wales, good morning. Christy Smith says, if infidelity has hit and not been worked through, you are already at an F and the grade won't come up. Am I right?
If you do nothing about it.
If you do nothing about it, right. I wouldn't say that you're definitely at an F, right? Because epic fail just hit your relationship. But, that's the whole point of the grading scale, is that you can bring it up, right? Semester after semester, test after test. And so now it's about moving forward to get your grades where you need them to be. And I just wanted to circle back. Good morning, everybody. I wanted to circle back to the point of the power of our words and how, when we talk about the Enneagram in particular, it's not necessarily about what you do that sets your personality style. It's the reason why you do what you do. That's the focus, and that's the understanding that you're trying to gain. And a lot of times, all of those things are rooted in something that you experienced before you were able to defend yourself mentally and emotionally. Somebody said something to you. Something as simple as hair. Hair is a big thing in our culture in particular, right? Something as simple as, girl, your hair, if you get your hair wet, oh, your hair just got nappy. And now you think, oh, my hair is bad because my hair got nappy. See, it doesn't always have to be such a critical issue, but there are things that we have picked up along the way with someone who did not necessarily have bad intentions, but just did not understand the power of their words that have come into you. So it's really important for us all to start to take responsibility of the things that we say to the people that we love.
Yes.
There's a study out there that talks about how a scientist basically spoke hateful words to water, and when he flash froze the water, it was freezing in shards and crazy looking shapes that looked like terrible and fearful. And then at the same time, he spoke loving words to water, and he flash froze them, and they crystallized into these beautiful snowflake shapes that come naturally down from the sky when we see snowflakes, which is a rare thing to see. And so our words affect everything. You can even speak life to a plant and revive a plant. Did you know that?
Absolutely.
A struggling plant that's dying, you can start speaking love to that plant, and that thing will start to thrive and grow. That is the power of your words. We have to be the masters of our tongue.
Now, Dr. Emoto, when he did that experiment, when he spoke into the water, it's quite interesting. Water was the element, the substance. Plants made up of a lot of water. Human beings, 70% water.
I mean,
you understand what
wow.
I'm saying? So when you speak to a person, you're speaking into them, and you're speaking into the same element that was in that water, that was in that plant, that is in everything in life, because we're all connected at the end of the day. So that's why you have to be extremely careful.
Jacqueline agrees. She says we are held accountable for every word we say. That's what the scripture says. Can't deny it.
There it is. Let's go to the second one. Emotionally destructive sign number 2. My spouse mocks and belittles me. Often, sometimes, seldom, or never. This is very common in couples who are not in a good space. You know, sometimes people do it because maybe that's the family environment they came from. They had siblings and they would always josh on one another or joke on one another.
That's true.
But if you come from a different family culture, that may not fly with your spouse.
That's true.
So you could be doing it in a comical, jovial way, but it still be destructive. Or you could be emotionally destructive and manipulative and controlling and always are trying to negatively, I don't know, treat your spouse, and it shows up in that particular way. And so the question is, are you doing it? Now, here's the deal. I'm asking you the question, does your spouse do it? And I want you to answer it, because the reason why we did that is because most people won't admit what they do, right? They're oblivious to what they do. Maybe it is you who is the one in the relationship who's doing this. If this is you, we need you to be mindful of it, to begin to change course. Because the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. And if this is how you're daily showing up in your relationship, then things will get progressively worse. And it will be hard to recover from a demonic
Here's a
spirit.
comment. Jackie, she got the drop in the nuggets today. She says, a tongue is a small member but can kindle a great fire. It's so powerful you can speak life or death to something. And that's something, I mean, that's another version of doing that. Remember Yo Mama jokes? Your mama's so ugly. Your mama, you were the king.
I used to get them.
Right, but what if, like Hassani said, what if your family didn't do mama jokes? You know, like there are so many discrepancies that we have when we come together in our family dynamics that are so different, and we will put a label on somebody. You just being too sensitive. I'm just joking. A joke is meant to be funny to the audience that you are delivering the joke to.
Yes.
Right? How would you like to stand in front of an audience and deliver a bunch of jokes that you think are hilarious and everybody in the room is stone-faced? I bet you change your act.
Straight up and down.
I would change my act. So if it's not funny to your spouse, then it's just not funny.
If it's demeaning and degrading, it is not funny. So stop doing it.
Right.
Stop doing it. Let's go to the third one. Emotionally destructive sign number 3. My spouse tells me no one else would ever want me as a partner. Now, this is something that listen.
That's dangerous.
Think about it. You'll never, if it's almost like we're in a bad relationship, D-minus relationship, we're teetering on, do we stay together, do we not? And I'm constantly reminding you, you ain't going nowhere, and if you do leave, ain't nobody gonna want you. Look at you, you're this, you're that, you're the other. Now, I'm not gonna call nobody out.
You fat, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you got too many kids, you ain't got a job, like all the things that you ain't. How manipulative to keep a person by your side.
And you know how damaging this is in general, but now we are entering into a phase where so many people are listening to voices out there that will then determine what your value is as a person, right? So value is determined by this or by that. And so if you have too many kids, you've lowered your value. If you gained a couple pounds, you've lowered your value.
Is this a person who will go unnamed on our show? I don't even think we need to name.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. But the point is, what happens is we're listening to the wrong voices, getting the wrong information, bringing it into our relationship, and devaluing our spouse, and then criticizing, beating them down, telling them they'll never do any better, they'll never find anybody better. And that's emotionally abusive, it's verbally abusive, it's psychologically abusive, and it can beat you down.
I want to go to a couple comments. So JD, I love it when somebody can acknowledge their mess. JD, because he says, I'm guilty of that. I play around and she doesn't get it. You know what? She doesn't get it. She doesn't like it. She thinks you're being insulting. That's just something to change, man. Because if she has any reason to feel offended or disconnected or made fun of or made the butt of jokes, you never know what was going on in her childhood that makes that a trigger for her, right? Because you don't know what well, you might know because she is your wife. But my point is that we grow up in these environments where certain things happen, and then later on when it happens again, we're triggered, and we just see it a certain kind of way, so we have to shift that. And then Kia says here, it's so funny, Hassani was an A and B student talking about people's mama? What? Oh man.
Yes, I didn't have it all together.
He has talked about my mama, okay? He has done some serious mama jokes. He has talked about my mama. They're funny jokes though. Go to the next point.
All right, number 4. Emotionally destructive sign number 4. My spouse pressures me to do things I do not want to do.
Oh man.
Now we're talking about a controlling spouse. Now let me go back. Is it often, sometimes, seldom, or never? I want you to think about this, right? Now, we know the obvious. Typically when we're dealing with what happens in the bedroom, there's a pressure for one spouse to do what the other one may not want to do and that's a whole nother conversation that can go down a whole nother path, but it does show up in normal everyday life together. Whether it be when dealing with other people, how you manage that particular household, how you deal with the children. Even everybody has their own idiosyncrasies about how they do certain things, certain habits that may be annoying. But when you begin to beat down and control and force your spouse to do or not to do as if they are a little child or if they are a dog, it becomes very demeaning.
It does. There's a thin line between, somebody being controlling and somebody wanting submission. That's why submission seems like a curse word to so many women, because it feels controlling. It feels like, okay, I have no voice. I just got to do what you say to do, especially for women in particular. And, I think we need to really dial into what the scriptures are saying when we're talking about the submissive thing. It's not a slavery thing. It's not a do as I tell you to do with no question. It is a connection. It is what's a better way to say it? How we connect and commune and come into agreement on everything. However, Hassani is the head, and the way it's supposed to go is that if Hassani's heart, mind, and spirit are submitted to God, right? And mine is too, but he's submitted to God, and then we are submitted to each other under the wisdom of God, then there's no need for this idea of control and submit and do as I say, because you will be operating out of love as a husband, because that's what the Bible commands husbands to do, to love your wives as Jesus loves the church, okay? So if we study Jesus and how he did, he wasn't over here controlling and whipping people and telling them what to do and forcing nothing. Jesus didn't operate like that. And if that's who you serve, then you need to be modeling that in your marriage.
And going back to the whole submission thing, submission is not a gender specific thing. Typically when we hear that term, we're thinking in the context of women, female, ladies, as if men should not be submitted. Listen, a woman doesn't have a problem submitting to her man if that man is submitted to his God. So he has to have a higher authority. But think about it. When we deal with men, truth be told, men have been submitting from day one. Think about it. Every student submits to the teacher. Every athlete submits to the coach.
Come on now.
Every soldier submits to the commanding officer.
Yes.
Every member of that church submits to the pastor. We all have to operate in levels of submission.
Absolutely.
And this is why we say in the context of the marriage, we have so many men who are the head, but I was about to say the HNIC. They're the big head, right? They're a know-it-all. or they're a know-nothing, yet they want to lead and control and demand that their spouse, and they don't value the wisdom and the expertise that their spouse has that can contribute to the relationship. They're so used to being in a position where I'm the man and this is what it is. And that level of chauvinism can be very
there's the word. Thank you. That word of chauvinism. And you know what? There are a lot of examples of godly women that when their husbands have wisdom and they actually heard the wisdom of that's in the wife that they have, it saved their lives. It changed the situation. It actually caused folks to be saved from destruction. And so there is this order that God has created, but it was never meant to have a man's head, a foot over your head, period. And so we got to restructure that, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I will follow Hassani till the end of the road as long as he's following God. But if he goes off the trail and start talking some crazy mess and start serving some other God or some nonsense, you start talking about Satan might be looking good, Danielle, then I'm going to have to rebel. And I think I'd be on the side of God with that. I think God would honor me standing on the word of God because I know what's right. I don't think God is requiring wives or anyone to submit to their spouses long enough to fall into a pit, because there are scriptures that talk about if your unsaved husband wants to leave or spouse wants to leave, then let them leave. If they're willing to stay, let them stay. But we don't follow them into sin, and we don't follow them into the pit.
Right. You pray for them. You speak life into them. You get a community of people around them that will help wake them up. But at the end of the day, we got to get away from this adversarial, competitive, I'm in control, I dominate and control you, because that does not work long term. Let me tell you something.
It's like not having your rib.
If I was dominating and controlling Danielle, I would lose respect for her, to be quite honest with you. Yes. And we see many women who are very domineering and controlling over their man, and they want to be in control. But even when that man, quote unquote, submits and goes along with her domineering spirit, you're dealing with women who don't respect their man. They don't respect them.
You know what else you would lose in addition to respect? You would lose the wisdom of God. Because the Bible says it is not good for man to be alone. That means that he put me here for a reason. You need the gifts that I have. And so for you to dominate me, shut me down, close my voice and say it's my way or the highway, you've literally, the rib that God rejoined into your body when he gave me you threw that rib out. Like, I don't need that rib. I'm going to walk around with no rib. I'm going to have no spine, because you've let go of the wisdom that God has put into your wife. That's where it's coming from. So it's an interesting thing when we get our heads wrapped up in all of this chauvinism and what society says and all these crazy voices out there that I keep hearing in my counseling sessions. I'm like, why do I keep hearing this name? Why do I keep hearing these same conversations over and over again about certain things regarding your value and all of that? Your value should be in Christ.
There it is.
Stop overvaluing yourself. Stop valuing your money, your assets, and your possessions. If you're emptying your soul, then you have no value, and it should be pointed upwards, not down into your pockets.
Excellent point. Excellent point. I need to go to JD. JD has a comment. He says, I have always asked my wife's opinion, but was told that I'm not being a man because I didn't just make the decision. So let's talk about that for a second.
That's
because
good.
That wife, or any wife for that matter, will go along with that decision as long as she agrees with it. But what if you make an independent decision that she just don't agree with? What if you make an independent decision and you did not consider all of the facts or all of the situation, and you made the wrong decision? I think what you need, one way to shift it, right? So if you're always going and asking her what she thinks and what do you want to do and and you're not bringing anything to the table, that may be a part of the problem. Yeah. Let me give you a technique that may help.
Yeah.
So we talk about in this book called The Advantage. It's a business book, right? It says one of the reasons why team members and employees have low morale and really they don't produce the level of work for their supervisor is because a lot of times managers and supervisors, they take this top-down approach where they come with policies and decisions and telling them what they're going to do and what needs to be done. Very dictatorial, not considering them at all. And the employees say, well, golly, we're the ones on the front line. We're the ones dealing with the employees. Why wouldn't you at least ask us? Why wouldn't you ask us, what would be the best approach? Because we may know more than you while you sit up in that, that high-rise office making decisions. So they said a principle that may work. If you want your team members to buy in to a concept, allow them to weigh in to that concept. So in essence, their weigh-in leads to their buy-in. Likewise, rather than simply saying, "Hey, babe, what do you want to eat tonight? Hey, where do you want to go to? What restaurant do you want to go to? And what do you think we should do about this?" It would be better to bring a situation to your wife that you've thought out. You're not married to it.
Yes.
You're about 80% there. You're wrestling with it in your mind. You're forming this kind of idea, and then you present it to her and you allow her to weigh in. Sometimes I brought things to Danielle and she would take it. I say, "Danielle, this is it. What do you think?" She'd look at it and she would say, she would just do that. And that little subtle shift
That's right.
made the idea even better than when I presented it to her.
I think we lost camera. Is that okay? Can they still hear us?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. And you know what? The blessing also, and everything Hassani said, is spot on, right? But one benefit that we have as it relates to you, JD, is that you're one of our clients. And so I remember your Enneagram, which is a 9. And so for 9s, that is a common issue of just not necessarily that you can't make the decision. You just are you're good with it either way. You know, you're laid back. You don't have a lot of demands on things. So you probably tend to say, whatever you like, whatever you think, it's up to you. I don't care either way. And so when you're in a relationship with somebody who's like that, and you're somebody who wants somebody to take the lead more or does not want to always be the one making the decisions, that's where I can see a lot of frustration coming into play. And so for you, your work, and this is a question from you and private personal work for you, is to actually focus on being more decisive and making specific decisions without her input. And that's just for you. You're watching the Couples Academy show, and I think our show is over.
It's over. This went by too quick. But we're going to have part 2 tomorrow. Listen, we're going to go deeper. We're just scratching the surface, guys. If you're getting something out of this, make sure you tune in, share it with your community, because it's going to get better. Stay tuned. Love you guys.
See you tomorrow.